right. This is actually my second run in the van. And in this segment of the Gig Geezer, I've highlighted my van when I was, at least the originating point or of which I started the content was in Clinton, South Carolina. Today, I am in Goose Creek in the Charleston, South Carolina area. And I just picked up a load opportunity that will take me to the Atlanta area. I've got to keep it overnight in Columbia and then deliver first thing in the morning. That's what they stipulated. And I could actually make it to Atlanta. Well, actually I wouldn't. I would not make it to Atlanta by 8 o'clock. Simply because once I get to Atlanta, the traffic would be an issue. So it kind of worked out. They said that the actual pickup time was 2 o'clock, but really and truly, I had until 4 o'clock to pick up. But I told them I'd be there at 3, and there was a delay in the process. Now, in a couple segments of the Gig Geezer, I have described about getting a TSA. I described about getting your transportation worker identification card or TWIC card. And then I also mentioned about a lot of brokers, some brokers will also ask if you have a TSA 9 certification. And the TSA is the one where you pay $125 and you get your federal background checked, and you've got to provide proof of citizenship, ID, background check, and fingerprints. You got to submit the fingerprints, and they take a picture of you. It's kind of like if you get a passport. And one of the benefits about having a TWIC is that from a TSA perspective, it speeds up the process if you were to take a commercial flight. But for the sake of handling certain freight, you need, with certain brokers, you need to show proof of having both a TWIC and TSA 9 certification. Well, today I had to renew or update my TSA 9 certification. The TSA 9 certification is you taking a learning portal to as a review of some of the protocol that's involved with handling cargo, and understanding that there's certain people whom you must report to if you see the cargo that's like wires are hanging out or fluids are all over the place. Basically, you should not take that cargo, and also you should report it. And some of the other protocols is that when you're at certain facilities, the cargo should be locked or sealed, mainly locked and sealed, or constantly monitored, one of the three. So those are some of the protocols that you have to be reminded of. They tell you about the learning portal tells you about how folk have tried to smuggle on explosive devices, like onto planes, like in a boot, or something that's battery powered, an explosive device that's battery powered. That's why when you get on planes now, there are certain things that you're not allowed to bring on. I remember back in the day when I could bring a computer, I could bring an athletic bag onto the plane, put that on top, my computer be in there, my iron be in there, a bunch of shit be off in there. Nothing was questioned. In fact, what they used to do, they'd ask you to turn on your computer and turn it off, and that was enough. And that was back in the 20th century. And then there was the September 11th incident, 2001, which now is going on, 24 years? And that changed everything. But the point of the matter is that the learning portal went over things like that, and then you took a test, and you had to answer 7 out of 10 questions correctly. For whatever it's worth, I tend to always score well. I always tend to score 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. And so, my certification was renewed. I think it's like once every 2 years you have to take the test. Once a year it can be renewed by you signing a form, but once every 2 years it appears, because my first time being TSA 9 certified was in 2023. Same year I got my TWIC. In fact, my TWIC is good through 2028. It's good for 5 years. Yeah, I passed the test, and so what I had to do was send them notification that I passed the test. And once you pass, you can download your certification, just like what they asked me to do with the update. There was another form that I had to sign electronically. I downloaded it and sent that to them. But the truth of the matter with this particular load is that it took between the time of me negotiating for this run and from the moment that I actually was able to leave, where they forwarded me a rate confirmation sheet and the bill of lading, it was almost an hour. So that, and most of that, and part of that time was me going back and forth with them over a rate, and then the other part of the time was my having to do the TSA 9 recertification. That's what it amounted to. So another reason why I took this load opportunity is because it gives me a chance to get in the van and put it on the road and see just how it's running after sitting for over 3 months. And this will be a good opportunity. I mean, the actual driving, well, the driving distance is going to change because this is not a direct run. And from a business standpoint, I'm really counting the miles from Columbia to Atlanta, only because I got to go back. If I got to go back home, then I'm going to eat those miles and count those against miles that I've done today. And then the miles that I will count on this run will be from the Geezer compound to the Atlanta area. That's just the way it worked out. Now I've had some other I've had another situation that I documented, and what I last recall was December 31st of last year. At the end of last year, I had a run that took me to the Charleston area, and then I doubled up or connected on a run that went from Goose Creek, ironically, right down the road from where I picked up, took me to Atlanta. And so I had already counted the miles actually during the run to Charleston. I counted the miles from Charleston and back to Columbia. And so the miles that I counted for that run was from the Geezer compound to Atlanta. I'm not gonna count my miles twice. It serves me no purpose. But that's just me and me only. Some people may say differently. They may say, "Oh, you driving extra miles." No, I'm not, because and also the other thing about this particular run opportunity is that I just got off the phone with my daughter, so I have a chance to see her. Hadn't seen her in a couple of weeks. In fact, the last time I came through here was that I had a run to Charleston, and I ended up playing mechanic and mainly mechanic. And once I got finished with that run into the Charleston area, I stopped by her place and changed the oil in her car. I was hoping that she would go somewhere to get an oil change, but then when she told me how much it costs, I'm like, shit, I guess I might as well keep the streak going and changing the oil in her car. I mean, what I'm understanding is that it may cost anywhere between $50 if you have a coupon and upwards of $100 to do an oil change now. Well, hell, it only cost me for her car like $25, tax included. That's for the oil, a 5-gallon container, and the filter. So anyway, so that's all I had to share at this juncture of this particular run. When I resume again, it will be, I guess, from the Geezer compound or from somewhere along I-20 as I'm traveling towards Atlanta. Alrighty, so I am back in the van. I just left visiting my daughter, and it's been a couple weeks, as I mentioned, since I last seen her. And the thought came to me. I've been talking about giving yourself options and versatility and so forth, and today is a good example. And the reason being, in this video that I uploaded prior to this one, it was actually done earlier today. And that was in a box truck. And I started the day with a cash game opportunity in the box truck, but I'm ending the day with an opportunity, a brokered opportunity in the van. Now, since October, it's pretty much been a combination of either well, for the most part, out of default, it's been a combination of either box truck or F-150. But now it's box truck, van, with the potential of even using the F-150. And that is not talk of a victory lap. That's just by strategy giving yourself additional opportunities or giving yourself additional options. And so if you're in a position to do those things, well, guess what? You know, the proof is in the money earned. As I've mentioned, fast friend of mine, he has that type of those type of options. He has those options as well. But the thing is that I'm sure that I'm not the only one who has options like these that I'm describing to you. In fact, I'm certain that if they have those options, they would say, hey, look, you know, try to do what you can with what you got. But if you're ever in a position to add to your equipment, do so. Because by doing so, you're investing in yourself, you're investing in your business, and it's going to pay off. Now, what I mentioned also very briefly in passing about a month later, the box truck had paid for itself. And that is true. Right now, the box truck, I've gotten a 3-to-1 return on investment on the box in a matter of what? Since middle of October, we're talking now 5 months. I've gotten more than a 3-to-1 return on investment. With the Sprinter van, it's multiples as well. It's like, I want to say at least times 5, pushing times 6 return on investment. The difference is that I financed the van as opposed to paying for it outright. But with the box truck, as I mentioned, I paid for that. I paid for that outright. And so, as I also mentioned in the last video, you're in an immediate equity situation and you're in an immediate profit situation as well. So that's what I wanted to add at this juncture to this particular segment of the Get Geezer. And so, by the way, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. All right, as I said that I would do, I would resume the conversation. This will be briefly though, but it's now almost 4 o'clock in the morning, and I am now heading to the Atlanta metropolitan area. And the miles that it would take for me to reach the freight forwarding place from the Geezer compound is right at about 225 miles. Those are the miles that I will be counting. The reason being, I'm repeating myself, but I was in the box truck when I first started working on securing this brokered opportunity. And actually, I was heading back to the Geezer compound, having completed a cash game opportunity. Okay, and so having completed a cash game opportunity, I knew that I would need to swap out of vehicles. And so that meant me driving to the Charleston, South Carolina metropolitan area. And as I mentioned earlier, I also had an opportunity to visit my daughter for a little while. And so the miles that I counted going deadhead to Charleston and back to Columbia are being charged against yesterday with the cash game. There are some situations that I've had already with the box truck in which I have cleaned up what would be suspect dollars earned by combining with something else later in the day. makes up for some money that I probably missed making, or for that matter, it eats up. It kind of eats up eats up some of the deadhead miles that may be in question. So hopefully I'm making sense. So what I mean is, it was about 230 miles total going to Charleston and back to Columbia. And so those miles were counted yesterday. Today, the 225 miles are going to be counted as my loaded miles to the Atlanta area. That's how that's going to work. The cash game yesterday was real easy, and it didn't require a lot of work. Was not a lot of miles driven. I mean, altogether with the cash game, I probably drove 30 miles total. 90 and 30, I think, is really on the top end. So that's another reason. But I am now on I-20 westbound, heading towards Atlanta and Atlanta metropolitan area. And so when I resume this conversation, we'll be at the freight forwarding place when I'm dropping off this pallet. All right, so I am resuming this conversation. I am in the Atlanta metropolitan area. The actual place that I am delivering to is Ellenwood, Georgia. It's a freight forwarding installation. It's a place that I've made multiple trips to, specifically for this broker that I'm dealing with on this particular opportunity. In fact, I've highlighted this place in a couple of actual, what I mean by highlighting it, actually shown delivery footage from where freight has been taken out of the van at the freight forwarding place. So I'm actually about 3 hours, a little over 3 hours from when I last documented things. It was at exactly 3:48 in the morning when I started. It's now 6:53 in the morning. I don't have to be here until 8 o'clock, but I'm here earlier because they said a strict arrival by 8 o'clock, number one. But number two, since I really didn't sleep much at the Geezer compound, this will give me a chance once I'm there to cop a snooze for a little bit. It will reap benefit for me as I try driving back to the Columbia metropolitan area. So this is really a good example, as I mentioned throughout this segment of the Gig Geezer, about you having options. Started yesterday during the cash game opportunity. I happened to see this opportunity come up on a load board, and I saw it as I was actually returning to the Geezer compound. And so once I was able to secure this opportunity, I switched out of the box truck and into the van. I've actually done this a couple of times. In fact, I'll describe it this way. I booked one load in particular. It was actually set up for a van, a Sprinter van. It should have been a van with the capacity of carrying 3 pallets. But I picked it up. It turned out I picked it up using a box truck. But as it turned out, instead of 3 pallets, I picked up just 1 pallet. And so what I did was I came back to the Geezer compound and then slid that pallet into the van and then completed the run in the van. And so that was a run from Charleston to Charlotte. Several weeks later, maybe a couple of months later, had another opportunity, similar opportunity. Actually, it was a couple of months. It was like last month. This time they were looking for a box truck because it was more than 3 pallets. It was like 4 pallets. And so I happened to be in the Charleston area and picked up in Charleston and then completed the run in Charlotte. So that's the way it works. Oh shit, they're not open yet. Alrighty, so apparently I'm here too early. It's 7 o'clock and I think the place doesn't open until 8 maybe. I've never been here this early. Usually I've come here during business hours. So I'm gonna have to wait until the gate opens electronically, and then I can go in and check in and have this pallet taken out of the van. You got my paperwork, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. All right, I am done. The money's been logged in. The pallet has been delivered. And I am heading back to Columbia. As you see across the way is a Walmart, and I was actually over there about a few minutes ago. What I ended up doing was replacing my headlights, both the top and the high beam and the low beams, because I noticed how kind of dim they were while driving to here. And so that's one thing that's out the way now. But while I'm waiting to be unloaded, I met a young guy named Joseph. And Joseph is fairly new in the delivery and transport space. And he was telling me that he was driving for a carrier. He has an LLC. In fact, it's interesting the timing of things. He formed his LLC in December of last year. I shared with him I formed my LLC for delivery and transport in December of 2022. He also purchased his van in December of 2024, and I told him how I purchased my van at the same time. He then applied for his MC number in January, and so now his MC is about 2 months active, and he's looking to try to get on with carriers. And I shared with him how most are looking at 90 days, 6 months, and a year. Not carriers, brokers, actual brokers, broker carriers. And so, what else? He's telling me he's been driving for carrier, but he realizes already that he's putting in a lot of miles and not making the money to justify the miles driven. So I shared with him how I started, how I transitioned from doing gig food delivery work into the delivery and transport space. I shared with him how part of my operations deal with the last mile gig delivery apps. That's something that he had not done as well. He's not done. There's a lot of things. And the reason why I am sharing this part, because there's people who get into this. I mean, people getting into this, and they really they've yet to wrap their brain around a lot of things. And they don't want to make the wrong decision in which they crash and burn. Apparently he's buying his van. He has a long wheelbase Ford Transit 250 2021 high roof van. So the next thing up for him would be the extended body high roof van, but what he has actually will work. It will work quite well. It's just that he may not get a third pallet, but he can do a lot of things with his van. Since he had a Transit 250, I showed him a couple of things like changing his oil, changing his spark plugs, changing his filter. And the thing is, he did not know where to change his oil. So I literally showed him where the drop plug was and where his filter is, so he can save himself some money in doing maintenance on his van. Now he does not have E-tracks. He has cardboard and a metal bottom, metal base, metal floor. My van happened to have the padding, but I told him about the E-track. I showed him my E-tracks, showed him how it works essentially. The other thing is that he's partnering with his brother, and so they both are trying to learn at the same time. So yes, there's a lot that he's trying to wrap his brain around, but he wants to get it right. He's married, he has a young son, and so I can see where he's motivated to do what he needs to do. I shared with him how much I earned on my run from the Charleston area to Atlanta, and he told me how much he was making on some of his runs, and I'm like, man, yeah, you need to try to get yourself in a position where you can use your authority, get on with a factoring company, and make more money. I also shared with him about, of course, the Get Geezer channel, and also what else about negotiating. The main thing is that you can't sell up, and you can't be timid. If you want the business, you got to ask for it. Simple as that. You can't get the business unless you ask for it. So, but it was nice meeting him. I mean, the way we met, he was there to pick up. I was there to drop off, obviously. I was kind of rushed in the beginning because I was trying to get this unloaded so that I can get in contact with the broker and let him know that the freight had been delivered. And so we kind of parted on that. But then since I was finished, it's Saturday. I figured, well, I know he's going to be there because of the situation that he was in. And so I went back there and talked to him some more, and that's how I learned more about him. So, and I'm glad that I did, because parenthetically, paternally speaking, it's like a lot of y'all are like kids to me. My main demographic on this channel are those who would be old enough to be my child, or I'd be old enough to be your parent. And yeah, and so I don't want to impart bad information. I keep saying this, but I do not want to impart bad information. If I can't help you, I ain't saying anything. If what I have to say can't help you, then I need to keep it to myself. That's the way I feel about it. So hopefully he will subscribe to the channel. He knows where the channel is. I gave him my business card. He seemed to be rather appreciative of what I shared with him. So that's kind of where I'm going to end this segment of the Get Geezer. You never know who you're going to meet. And apparently it was ordained for me to meet him, to at least share some of what I've learned with him to help him get started. Because I've been in this space 2 years doesn't mean that I am the aficionado, the expert on things, but I can share what I've learned, and hopefully over the last 2+ years, what I have shared or what I've documented has been of some help to y'all. And with that, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment of the Get Geezer, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm Inwood Lane. As always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.